Alright, so this video we're going to talk about the deployment settings. So you have now created the sandbox. You can now log into the sandbox. Now you have to do a small settings which will allow you to deploy from sandbox to production, to deploy from production to sandbox, vice versa. Okay, so every time you create a sandbox, this is an admin or developer jobs to establish this connection first. Okay, let's look into my screen. So if you go to the settings and search with deployment settings, you get this particular deployment settings, and I have total 3 sandboxes, right? One is real estate, one is this, right? Now, how can you deploy? So can you see this, the arrows? So this is my production environment. This is my sandbox, real estate. I had already done this, settings. That's the reason why both the arrows are like green, right? Green means you can either deploy from this environment to this sandbox, or you can deploy from this environment to this productions. That's why both sides it's green. But if you see this new sandbox that I created, right? Dinopat dev, right? This sandbox, both these lines are broken and it's red color. So it means that until and unless you do this particular settings, you cannot deploy anything from one environment to another environment. So in order to enable, so first thing is from sandbox to production. Second thing is from production to sandbox. If you want to send something from this particular sandbox to production or to any other sandboxes, right? You first have to go to this edit button, and then you have to enable the settings, right? You see something called allow inbound change set. Next video we're going to talk about inbound and outbound change set in detail, but you first have to check this box called allow inbound change set, which means that now this sandbox called Dinopat dev is ready to accept any inbound change set that you might push from production. Correct? So this inbound change set, you made it available. Same thing you have to do in the production. You have to log into the production, and then you have to enable the inbound, allow inbound change set. This checkbox you have to enable from your production also, so that from sandbox you will be able to push the data from productions. Okay, so now if I go back to the deployment settings, right, you see this, the line was fully broken, it was red. Now it is showing that from Delipat dev you can actually push the metadata from this. Okay, now I'm going to log into the other production environment and do the same changes. So I have done this in my production org. So that means my production org is capable enough to receive the inbound change set from Delipat dev sandbox. My production environment is capable enough to receive the changes from the sandbox. Now I have to go to the sandbox and make this same setting, so that if in case if you want to push something from this production or to the sandbox should be capable enough to accept it. For that, let me go and log into the sandbox. This is my sandbox, right? I will go here. How do you know this is a sandbox? Look at this name. So I'll go here, click on the setup, and look for the same deployment setting, right? Deploy. You see the deployment settings? And if you go to the deployment setting, no, you see that this sandbox called Delipat sandbox, we can't display this page. Actually, sometime what happened, this is a lightning view. This page sometimes is not available in the lightning, so I'm just quickly opening the classic view, right? Okay, so I have opened this page, and this page is looking like this. I'll just click on continue. When you do the same thing in your org, you will not be able to do it because you are using free developer org. In case you have a production paid org and you want to try to do the same thing, right? Maybe your screen will look different because this is a classic screen. Okay, this is not a lightning screen. As I said, sometimes it doesn't open in lightning, so you have to switch to classic and open it up. So this is the classic screen. So check this out, guys. This is my sandbox, and from the sandbox I have total how many environments? Production. I have total 4 environments in this particular production org. One, the production itself. Another, these 3 sandboxes. One is called deployment, then real estate, then Delipat, right? So total 3 sandboxes along with the total 4 environments I have, and you can push something from any environment to any environment, one sandbox to another sandbox, one production to another production. Okay, you just have to do the same setting. So I already enabled the deployment setting from my production. Now I'm going to my sandbox and enabling it. Okay, so do you see this from production? So first one is production. Okay, check this out. From Delipat dev sandbox, you can push something to production. Why? Because just now I enabled it. Correct? Just now I checked that allow sandbox. Again, I repeat it. Okay, just to make sure you're not confused. So if you, in my production environment, I went to the deployment settings and I enabled this. I clicked on this edit and I enabled this allow inbound change set. I did it in production, which means my production environment is capable enough to receive the inbound change set from Delipat sandbox. Same thing, the vice versa I have to do here. I'll click on this and in my sandbox, I will enable this checkbox. Now it's a both way traffic. Okay, I saved it. Now check this out. Check out the screen. Okay, if you see my screen, now the sandbox can send something to production. Production also can send something to sandbox because I check this box from both the environment. Correct? So this particular setting you have to do whenever you create the sandbox. Let me tell you this, right? It's not necessary that from any environment to any environment you will be able to deploy. Okay, let me just tell you real time what happened exactly. So yeah, this is what we are discussing, right? See, normally what happened, no, from dev sandbox, from this particular development sandbox, you can push to QA only. From QA you can push to UAT only. From UAT you can push to production only. That should be your process. You should not be able to push something from production to UAT, UAT to sandbox, and QA to dev. To do that, in order to do that, right, you have to make sure these settings you do it properly. Which means you just go to this QA sandbox and check this allow inbound change set from dev sandbox. What does it mean? It means from dev sandbox you will be able to push it from QA. But when you go to the dev sandbox, do not check this box for QA. That means you are not allowing dev sandbox to receive the inbound change set from QA. Hope this is clear, right? So based on the business requirement, based on your project, what's going on, you have to allow or not allow this particular incoming change set things. Okay, so this is called deployment setting that you as an admin have to take care of. All right, so hope this deployment setting is clear. Next video I'm going to show you. I'll just quickly create an object or field or something that I have already. I'll try to push that from this particular sandbox to production. Okay, so that there's a small process for that and there's a theory for that. So I'll first explain the theory and then I'll explain technically how to do it. All right, see you in the next video.